ICT Policy and Practice in Education Settings by Samantha Charles. Education in the digital age has and is developing rapidly, as I've noticed during my placement. Schools have new equipment and new ways of using ICT. Schools have IT suites, and at my placement setting, the head teacher uses tablets to control PowerPoints and assemblies, as well as iPads being used regularly during lessons. But how did we get to this point? Firstly, I want to focus on using ICT as a new style of learning. Buckingham 2007 discusses the way in which children learn how to use this new technology, as shown through this quote. Children come to school already knowing how to use a computer or an iPad and feel very comfortable to do so. Buckingham highlights children's use of digital technology is being blurred between leisure and school. He calls this the new digital divide. When comparing the work they do in school with what they use the digital technology for at home, it's fairly boring. Steve Ingle and Vicky Duckworth 2013 claim that through growing up in this digital age and then having been immersed in the use of technology in many aspects of their daily lives, the younger generation have been born and grown up through the development of this new technology, and therefore it is second nature to them. Prensky 2001, cited in Ingle and Duckworth 2013, argues that students think and process information fundamentally differently from their predecessors and are native speakers of the digital age language. Next, on to the national curriculum. The current national curriculum for primary school aged children states that computing in schools should allow a student to This statement in the national curriculum stood out for me, I think mainly because it is linking that ICT is important and children need to be able to function in what they call the digital world. But what are the implications for this in the new digital age? If a child is having constant access to the technology outside of the classroom, does this mean that they will be less stimulated when having to write with the basic pen and paper at school? They will become bored through the lack of stimulation and therefore a distraction to others. It will also become harder for the teacher to both control a bored class as well as create fun and stimulating lessons. But what does this mean for those from a lower socio-economic background? The Guardian published an article in 2005 titled "Working Class Children Fall Foul of the Digital Divide." Throughout, it highlights the challenges of being a child from a working class background and having to keep up with developing technology. It claims that they are becoming victims of the digital divide because their parents lack the skills to help them use the internet as efficiently as their middle class counterparts. Does this mean that the working classes are being alienated in the classroom because they aren't capable of using the technology as well as their peers in the middle classes? The same article claims that just 61% of children from lower socio-economic backgrounds have access to a computer at home. This is compared to 88% of those from middle-class backgrounds. Lancashire and Noble 2011 used the work of Hirsch Jr. when discussing the theory of social culture. He claims that society assumes that everyone has the same knowledge and cultural heritage. Hirsch 1987 highlights that cultural illiteracy is on the rise amongst students. They are unable to process information in the same way as other students due to lacking the common cultural stock presumed to make such communication and meaning-making possible. Even at a young age, we can see the lack of technology in a home can put certain children at a disadvantage. Children need to be multi-illiterate in order to be able to be a full member of society because of the increased use of ICT in everyday lives. Society assumes that children growing up in this new digital age know everything that they need to about digital technologies. Facer et al., Livingston and Bobber claim that children from a working class background are uncertain, lack the information, and are often frustrated by the failure of the technology to achieve what it promises. My opinion on this. Digital technology is important, however it needs to be taught in the right way rather than learning how to write algorithms. Children should be taught practical skills such as word processors and search engines. These changes need to relate to wider social, political and economic changes in society. Thank you for watching.
created using Powtoon.